There we go. All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another radical rendition of Process Live. This show is an offshoot of our docuseries Process, which features creatives and athletes blazing a trail in their industries. You can find restreams of this show and others on FarcydeTV.com. Today, I'm excited to welcome our guest, Rob Feldman, who has an exciting new show, a new animated show that opened at Theta Con, if I'm correct, just a couple of weeks ago. And he's here to talk about that and some other really cool things. So let's just get started. Let's get into it. Welcome, Rob. How are you?
Oh, hey, thanks, Krista. I'm great. How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
It's just another beautiful day in paradise.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's cold here. It's like I'm on the East Coast, so it's really like it's very today was beautiful, but it's going to be very November in a couple of
Okay.
days, I'm sure.
Yeah. There's only, you just lean into it. There's only one way, right? It's
That's
like
right.
just lean right into it.
That's
That's
it.
great. Yeah, and just real quick too, for the people that are watching right now and listening through Twitter, feel free to submit any questions that you might have in the comments section. I'll have Pippin go ahead and get those to me somehow so that we can get those answered. But yeah, so I'm eager to get into the new show, Cyko KO, which just looks so awesome.
No,
Um,
thanks.
but before we chat about that, I do want to cover a little bit of your backstory. I want to hear a little bit about, how you got into illustrating and comics and character design and animation and all that fun stuff. So if you could just like take us through that, that would be awesome.
Sure, yeah. Happy to. Yeah, thanks again for having me on. This is so much fun.
Of
Um,
course.
Yeah, so yeah, how did I get started? Well, I was I mean, I've been drawing as far as I can remember, when I was like, I guess the real defining moment was when my mother, Santa Claus, I should say, actually not my mother, but Santa Claus actually brought me the wrong book that I asked for from Walden Books, if you remember that.
I do.
This
Yeah.
goes way back, right? We're going like 80 something, right? And I actually I had gotten How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way by Stan Lee and John Buscema. And that for me was a defining moment. In fact, that book is still available, but it's much cheaper now. It's like $5. I get anyway, but that book covers everything about comics. I've been like a comics nut, superhero fan of TV, superheroes, all that stuff. And so I started ravenously drawing and copying and, doing all this like stuff. And it was just from there, I just like, you sort of go when you in your teens, you sort of go through peaks and valleys of your interests and stuff. But,
Yeah.
you always kind of return to something. And so, yeah, that's kind of what happened in my 20s, my late 20s. Or at mid 20s, I thought, I'm going to create my own comic book. And I took a stab into that with my original character, Dr. Shroud. And it was a small press failure. And so, like most all, but it actually just sparked this whole idea of, oh, yeah, I could create something from beginning to end and it's not horrible. And I feel good about that.
Right.
So,
Well,
yeah.
sorry, I'm just curious. What makes it a small press failure, I guess is what you said.
Because
Was it just like like sales were hard or like talk to me a little bit about that. I'm
Yeah.
curious.
So, I mean, in the 90s, it was like, and this is when it was done, there was all these avenues of distribution. And, you had Diamond Distribution, you had Last Gasp, which was another one. There's a bunch of like, and I couldn't get distribution. So I ended up putting the comic in a bunch of zines. Remember zines? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so, and I shouldn't say it was a failure. I mean,
Right.
I guess I'm a little hard on myself. A 500 print run, all newsprint at that time, because that's kind of all I could afford. And yeah, so I sold them. I think I still have maybe a box. I don't know. I don't even know at this point. It's been so long. But yeah, I shouldn't say it was a failure. But
Yeah. But
I
I mean,
mean, small press
yeah.
is hard. It's a hard jam.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, with how your show is now, I mean, I'm new to looking at Theta Drop at that marketplace and everything, but I was checking out your collection earlier this week and then again this morning.
Well,
And
thanks.
I mean, it's sort of like one thing leads to the next, doesn't it? It's like you the reason for that small press, got you to where you are today. It's not like you put them in a box and they're up on a shelf, and now you're, I don't know, an accountant or something,
Right,
it's
right.
so, so
Yeah.
I would actually say, I would say definitely, please don't call it a failure, because you are where you are now,
I
and
know.
everybody's got to go through it.
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah,
got
yeah.
to, so sorry, continue. I
No,
was
no,
just
no, that's
curious
okay.
about that. Yeah.
A friend just kind of reprimanded me the other day. He didn't reprimand me, but I forget what he called it. It's like small talk. Don't small talk yourself. I mean, I've just, I'm from New Jersey. This is like kind of what we do. And so, we end up like, oh yeah, nah, it's not a thing, da da da. So I tend to self-deprecate more than maybe I should, that people are used to. But yeah, I mean, to your point, you're right. I mean, you can't really look at it like that. You have to look at it as a stepping stone. And I've always been, not someone to wait. I'm an 85 percenter. I like to put stuff out there and then let people be the judge of it. That will decide whether or not I should do another or keep going, and maybe it's not a good way to do that. It's certainly not going to change the way I behave, but certainly it did reinforce the fact that I should go on and make 2, 3, 3 more issues of that particular series, which I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so then Santa dropped off the wrong book for you. You wound up getting into that and drawing. Then you had the small press that happened. Talk to me about kind of like the in between. I think you mentioned that one of the characters was in this first comic book that you had made, or just sort of fill me in, like bridge the gap between then and sort of now, if you would.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the first character was this, it's really funny. This is one of those stories that, is kind of, comes full circle in a lot of ways. The first character I'd ever done, because I wasn't interested in drawing Spider-Man or drawing someone else's ideas. That's kind of, in a way that's good, in a way it's bad, because maybe I could have gotten further at that time, in the comics community. But I did what I did, and I never looked back, because to me, it's all about creating, writing, drawing, being somewhat good at all of those, and being able to put your idea out. So as a creator, that's kind of where I feel the most at home. But this particular character, Dr. Shroud, was a reformed vampire turned plastic surgeon whose daughter's abducted. So he regresses to his vampire form and sets out to find her. So it's a very sort of like, monster squattish, universal monsters type of vibe. At the time I made that comic, though, I wasn't aware that there was a movie that was coming out, because Dr. Shroud he's got these vampire powers, and at the time, Blade was on the horizon of coming out, and they had changed the comic book so that Blade was actually a vampire who had immunity to other vampires. And I thought, oh my God, that's my idea. What did I just do? I just sunk everything into this. But then I thought, you know what? It's going to become its own genre, which it ended up kind of being, this vampire who has his own vampire immunity. And then, and so that kind of evolved in that way. But so, yeah, so I made that. And then when, at that, I waited a few years, and then Flash animation came out during the 2000s. That's when the internet really started to take hold. I, dabbled in the internet, as we know, is Web 1.0. And I started making HTML pages and writing that. And I thought, you know what? This Flash animation looks incredible. And it was something I didn't know that I could learn. A friend of mine, the Frame Brothers, who are also comic artists, gave me a CD. They had a wink, wink, other copy. And I said, okay, well, let me try that out. So I literally spent like, I don't know, 6 months just doing my own stuff and putting it out there. And it was, I'm going to say not as polished as the stuff you see now. And that's when I took Dr. Shroud from print over to the web by uploading on newgrounds.com, and started to get, daily top 5, and started to win these sort of awards, these daily awards.
That's
and I
awesome.
thought, okay,
So it's like, now we're cooking with grease, right?
right, exactly.
Cool.
So instead of having, to sell 500 comics, now I can reach thousands of people who could see the work. And it actually ended up leading to an option, a film option with Fangoria at the time.
Okay.
Which then lapsed for various reasons. And then it was going to be a movie starring Nicolas Cage, Luke Goss, Guillermo del Toro producing. And I had garnered all these contacts through Fangoria because I started working for them. And my good friend Tom DeFeo, was a Dr. Shroud nut. Like, he just loves Dr. Shroud and was making all these introductions. And it was going to be big. We were going to shoot this in the Gwangju facility in Korea. $25 million doesn't sound like a lot, but we were going to make it work. And then through a series of Hollywood mishaps, that's being gentle, things just sort of
I felt the quotes off there.
yeah
Damn.
And that's kind of where I got my first taste of, hey, if anybody's going to make this stuff, it's going to be me. And that's kind of the only way.
That's awesome. I that happens in Hollywood like way more than I think people realize, that like things get the green light, then you got everybody's name, like all the names get attached, then like all the location and like everything, like the ball is rolling, and then just something can just come out of, drop out of the sky and just take out the whole project. I'm sure COVID did that to plenty of TV shows and, film projects and all sorts of stuff. So,
I mean, luckily it wasn't yet at a studio. It was still independent funding. It was still working with independent producers. And, just through, my own ambition, even contacting Crispin Glover. I think at one point I had who was going to do the soundtrack. Like,
that is one of my favorite bands in the whole entire fucking universe.
Yeah, I know, right? I know.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Now, okay, after this whole thing,
let's talk.
I am going to go and buy up every single piece of yours because sorry, that's epic. The has been one of my favorite bands, like, consistently throughout my entire life. So please, I don't mean to interrupt you. That was very exciting. Continue.
I got this neat little letter, and I still kept it on this like really incredible parchment paper from his London studio. And his the person who worked for him said, Matt really likes what you're doing. And he had just they just started doing soundtracks. And I was like, did I just like get some bolt of lightning of luck hit me, but yeah. And then but this is one of those things that we're going to, I'm intending to revisit with Dr. Shroud. We just need a little bit of funding. We have Malcolm McDowell, who had read sort of a trailer piece for it, but I'm getting ahead of myself here with that.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's okay. I like, you had me at that's incredible. I mean, not a lot of people know about like most of the people that I have in my life, I'll mention them, and then I'm like, okay, if you don't know them, like, I need a solid several hours of your time to just play my favorite songs for you, and you just sit there.
Here's December Sunlight. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh man, so good. So okay, so now where are things at? So can you just also talk to me before we start talking about the show itself, talk to me about finding your way to the world of like Film 3. I think it also was like Toon 3. Is it like cartoon, like Toon 3?
Oh, that's good. You just coined it. There you go.
I don't know if that's a thing, but I was like, Film 3, Animation 3, like, how do you even say it? But sure, like talk to me about how you found your way into this world.
Sure. Yeah.
It's different. It's really different, right? It's like,
It's pretty amazing. And it's funny. It's like a lot of creators, that I know, aren't really, aware of it all, and sort of poo-poo it in a lot of ways. But anyway, so then I was, after that happened, a buddy of mine was head of development over at Line Webtoon, and I had this other project called Cyko KO. Now, meanwhile, I had been pitching to Hollywood various projects over and over, and there's always a no. Though I was under option a few times, and that the option lapses and you're left with nothing. Thank God they don't develop it, because then otherwise you go into development hell and you never get your property back, right? So I've been lucky in that respect. So Line Webtoon I did 26 chapters of Cyko KO as an animated comic on their platform using their proprietary software called FX So it was this special software that when you scrolled, animated the characters. It was kind of cool, and it's still up there on Line's website. And then after that, they sort of canceled me at that point because it wasn't gaining traction. And I think with that particular audience, it's a very heavy anime audience, manga audience. So I then said, okay, well, I'm going to wait for the print rights to lapse. And I did that. And then I took it to print through Alternate Comics, and was nominated for a Ringo Award for my coloring book, which I was like, oh, okay, this isn't bad. And I went to the award ceremony, was underdressed, overdrunked, didn't win to DC Comics, but it's fine.
Fuck them. You're like, fuck
yeah,
them.
exactly.
In the back.
Yeah, it's just like, people say it's nice to be nominated. It's even nicer to be nominated and to lose to DC Comics. I could have lost to like someone else, right? So this is kind of good. And
we got one of those. We were nominated for a Webby and lost to Trevor Noah, and we were like, I'm more than happy to lose to Trevor Noah because I'm here working in my garage. He's got how many people working for him and helping him with everything, and I'm like,
exactly, exactly. That's how I feel. Yeah.
So
same.
it is a total honor to be nominated and even like lose, in that sort of a field, for sure. So please continue. Sorry.
No, of course. And then, so after that, I went on to create 6 more issues for Alterna, for Cyko KO. They kind of all sold out, which is nice, except for one of the issues I have. And so it started to gain steam, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Then I had this epic phone call in about 2018. 2018, about blockchain. Now, I was aware of Bitcoin and, some other coins, Ethereum and crypto in general. I didn't quite understand the technology. Now, having started my own company in 2008, doing, cartoons, but also doing websites and stuff, I'm deep into technology, and which I love. And I always found a way to harness it. I was one of the first people to have a mobile deal for one of my series, The Herd, even going back as far as 2004 with a mobile company in Indonesia. It's kind of nuts, right?
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, that was because back then.
That is crazy. Yeah. That's an interesting feat. Yeah. Feel free to go into that if you
I mean, back then, as I understood it, they already had 3G. And the reason why is because you had such disparity in geography. You had, populated cities, but then you also had farms, and the only way that they could get any sort of entertainment was through the satellite. By the way, they had to pay every time. So there are a lot of people. I made a lot of money for, in China, for instance, on mobile games that were 25 cents a pop, right? And so that was sort of the model, this snack-sized content that could be monetized. And that was I was on Verizon VCast, if you remember that, which was like kind of a big thrill at the time.
Yeah.
This is like 2008, 2007.
Yeah.
And so I was always like an early adopter of this. So I'm on this phone call, and they're talking about blockchain, and I thought, holy cow, this is kind of like what I not thought of, because I can't take credit for the entire blockchain, but I can say that I always wanted people to know that the image or the sticker or whatever it is that they had, they owned. And so I immediately went home and I bought, I downloaded for free Blockchain for Dummies. I mean, it's available on the internet. And I read about the peer-to-peer system, the open ledger system, the validation within the ecosystem, and how things are minted. And I thought, holy cow, this is the next phase of what I can do with my comics. And I thought, and all of my content. And so I was over at a
And
friend's
that was
house.
2018 for you?
This is
what you said?
2018. Yeah, yeah.
Dang, that is early.
So, but about maybe about a year later, I'm gonna say about a year later, I'm at a friend's house helping him with his business, and his wife, who's very much into crypto and blockchain, says to me, "Have you heard of Theta?" And I was like, "No." And she starts explaining to me the decentralized video, and I said, "Holy cow, that's what I read about the blockchain." She goes, "That's exactly it." So I thought, "Whoa, that's where I want to be." So I looked up Theta, read about them, read some of their white paper as much as I can understand. I saw it, they had Theta TV, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna do a deep dive. I'm gonna start streaming. I've never streamed before. Excuse me. I'm gonna see how I'm gonna like embarrass myself by doing this, right? And so my first stream was awful. Second, and I was gonna quit. And I was like, you know what? You're not a quitter. Try it again. So I
Right.
did it
Yeah,
again,
it's
did it
not
again.
easy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not easy. So I guess a couple thousand users after, they just pulled the plug on Theta TV, and now I'm over at Bolt Plus, which is
Okay.
like great every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Little plug there. Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time and Bolt Plus. And so yeah, and then from there, that's when NFTs, they started to use the emotes and say that they're NFTs. And I thought, okay, this is it. This is it. I did a wax drop with my first NFTs with Nick Quirk, who does he has this gnome. I forget the name of it. Oh my god! But he has this gnome game that uses NFTs, and you could battle from gnome to gnome. It's
Oh my God,
really
that sounds
cool.
so cool. That sounds
Yeah.
really cool.
So he welcomed me, Cyko KO, to like have those cards battle over there. Da da da. Theta then offered an NFT drop, and I was like, okay, absolutely. So it's from there. I just did a series of drops. It was very successful, but unlike a lot of other drops, part of the and not on that platform specifically, but just as a whole, I was really sort of bullish on utility in the beginning because I thought, that was presented to me. Well, what sort of utility are you going to have? And I was like, well, I don't know. And they said, well, who's your developer? And I was like, I got a guy. And then and then I didn't have a guy. And I was like, okay. So I called,
like, hold on, let me introduce him to you. You're like,
yeah, right.
with the mustache.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything I can help you with?
Exactly. Why is he wearing a Darth Vader mask? That's the guy. That's the guy.
It's him. He just,
It's
yeah,
him. Yeah.
quirky.
So I called my good friend Austin Patkos of Apex Technologies, who was a sensei at our dojo, and I said, can you code blockchain? He said, no, I'll figure it out. So we did our first drop or our second drop there, used for Cyko heads, and you could use the Cyko heads to play a game every month, and you would win prizes. And then it also opened up a comic book. So I did my first comic book drop over there. And then from there, things just sort of, evolved with Theta, just organically and just through partners like, John Prout from who's, staked a validator node in my company's name. And I started to get to know the team like Andrea and Wes. So yeah, so it's been really great.
Yeah. And when you were live streaming, what was it? Was it like a over the shoulder camera shot, like of you illustrating? Was it podcasty like this, or a comment? Like I'm curious about what I mean, you are still podcasting, right? You're live
Yeah, yeah.
streaming, you just said on what was the channel
It,
again?
it's Bolt Plus. So if you go to boltplus.tv,
.tv. Will you link that in the description, Pippin? Okay.
oh,
I just
thank
want to
you.
make sure we have that down there.
Yeah.
And
It's
and
actually my
also,
channel's boltplus.tv/Cyko KO, CYKOKO.
okay. All right,
But Bolt
cool.
Plus in general, I mean, all the streamers, what happened is after they pulled the plug, after Theta pulled the plug on Theta TV, and I mean that respectfully. I mean, it was always one of those platforms that was kind of a proof of concept. I always saw it like that because, in all honesty, there were things that were kind of janky on, they kind of didn't work that well. And then I didn't think that they were going to develop it anymore anyway. So it was a matter of time. And, they have the patent on that hybrid platform anyway. So I have no doubt that they're going to use that again. But that being said, after they ended Theta TV, Bolt, I was tweeting out on, I was trying to find a new platform because I really started to enjoy streaming, having done it since late 2020, I think, right? Yeah, 2020. And I was like, yeah, so my show basically is a show format where, I have a nice little screen behind me, not like all the stationary supplies, but like, I have a screen behind me and then I have two screens. And so I play cartoons, public domain cartoons. I talk about news. I was talking a lot about Theta, but not so much anymore because it's not relevant on that platform. So some stuff, of course. And then I have another screen where I actually can draw, and I do animation tutorials, and I also do my own work, and draw
so
characters
cool.
and comics. It's fun.
It's
Yeah.
awesome. It's a lot. It seems like a lot, but I love I mean, I love that you live stream the cartoons and stuff too. I got to just throw it out there. When I watched at least the intro piece to Cyko KO, I was like, this is so nostalgic towards like Hanna-Barbera kind of the cartoons, on Saturday
Yeah.
morning that you would just watch. I don't know if you remember like Grape Ape,
Oh yeah.
those ones that
Yeah.
seem like they're not sung about as much as like some of the others like Flintstones and whatnot. But
Ricochet Rabbit,
yeah, Ricochet.
Peter Potamus, Breezy Bruin. This
Uh-huh.
is like when I mention these things, to my wife or whoever, that's like talking about. I'm gonna say if we were in like the 80s, it would be talking about silent film, right? It's whatever. It's you know what I mean. It's
Yeah.
Jack Benny or something.
Yeah. Oh, but that stuff was groundbreaking. I mean, even like the Looney Tunes, and I mean, I raised my kids on the. I'm gonna forget his last name for some reason, but Chuck, you could fill in the blanks for
Chuck
me.
Jones. Yeah.
Yes, Chuck
Yeah.
Jones. That documentary, in and of itself, the Chuck Jones documentary, is
Oh, I don't know
just
if I
so
saw that.
incredible. He does. It's just like all the voices and just all this. Like, I think he's the guy that basically came up with the idea of like, oh, we play these like classical songs during these moments, the barbershop
Oh
one
yeah,
where, with
yeah.
Elmer Fudd and stuff, like
Yeah.
that was his idea. And it's just so genius,
Yeah.
and so it's all of the work that you're doing is just, it's so nostalgic. And I feel like that's something that is highly desired, at least by like my generation. You're talking to somebody that spent, God, I don't know how much it was. I'm scared to say it online, but we bought the
Yeah.
first Beastie Boys magazine called Grand Royal, but we used it in a shoot. But it was like I paid for it on eBay, and my brother had the whole collection. I don't know if he still has it or not, but we're talking like. And even last night we were talking about old magazines. Like, I don't know if you remember when Nickelodeon magazine came out.
Oh yeah,
That was like a
absolutely.
thing through Pizza Hut or something. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we're talking like a 60-page spread, and lots of comics in there, lots of little articles, and it's just like, where is that stuff now?
Yeah.
And do the kids even want that? So it's good for
Yeah.
our people our age. We're like, I could sit down with a Grand Royal magazine, and it's like the best night ever.
Yeah, right. I know. And so I know, and that's always something I'm always like, well, will people get this, Like, are people still yearning for those things? And the short answer is yes. I don't think it's exclusive to our age group. I mean,
Right.
maybe not magazines so much as they feed like news or events or anything, but collectibles. And
Yes.
this is something I was just on a Pog space with Kyler Frisbee from Pogs, and also Atari. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Why am I on
We
this
were on that.
spaces? Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
we
on
were on
that.
that
Yeah.
with you. Yep, it was
That's
awesome.
right.
But no,
That's
go
right.
into it, please. Yeah.
And it's that the one component with all of this Web3 stuff and everything digital is our need to be attached to things physically, whether that is, there's a lot of talk of AI, very sort of controversial subject, but there is one basic need that it all comes down to, and that is the ability to touch and be around, and this human contact. And as something that, and this is not generational. This is not something that is like, an old guy spouting out stuff. It really is there. I see it with my son, who's, I have two sons who are Gen Z. They love cash. They like books. What happened is with them, and it was very interesting, because they grew up with technology and physical stuff at the same time, they can discern which one they're going to use, sometimes simultaneously, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really magical, as opposed to like my generation, our generation, I'm going to say, which we were fascinated by, like this internet. And now we're going to send e-greeting cards, and then we're going to use it for this, and we're going to use it for that. We're like the experimenters of those things. And it took us time to weed out. Similarly, we will do the same thing with AI. We will do the same thing with Web3. But the bottom line is that this idea of physical collectibles, physical stuff, it ain't going away. There's no way. Web3, from our discussions on POG, with POGs and Atari, I mean, it's very clear that, this weaving of Web3 and physical goods is inevitable for authenticity, being able to trace who's had it, who's owned it, whether that's a house, a car, or a magazine, or a comic book, whatever. And also this idea of, I own this and I can prove it. Those two things are huge.
Yeah. I mean, just, it's weird. For some reason, I'm thinking like, even for like insurance purposes, just like, if you can just, everything, like the wallet is public. So it's like, if there was something, if you had a collectible, like a physical, and the digital proof of ownership in your wallet, it's like, how easy is it for an insurance company to just be able to be like, all right, we don't really need to go through a crazy investigation if there's a house fire or a flood or something like that, because it's right all there in your wallet. I don't know why I was thinking about that, but
no, but you're right.
Lucky insurance company, like they might have an easier job because of these things.
and if you want a paper document, it's a matter of time before the NFC chip, where that document is the NFC chip. It is scannable. It is, it's an AI will very much contribute to that, where you'll be able to scan something, determine its authenticity. It pulls it up on the, you'll be able to see the ledger, the open ledger. I mean, it's really this time that we're in. I go back to 1995, 96. He asked people, "You have an email? What the hell's an email?" It's the same conversations.
This will never work. Who's going to send an electronic mail? I'd much rather, do this and put it on a horse's saddle and send it in like a month.
Right. And then also this fear that like, paper's going to go away. No, it created more paper. It created more mail, because more people are in contact than ever before. Oh, and guess what? We have to send them stuff. My mail did not go down at all. It's gone up, because they got my name somewhere.
Yeah, I know. And then you're getting like, and they're also sending you a paper copy plus like an email, and now they've got your number. You're just like, oh my God.
Right. Stop it.
And then you're like on Twitter and you're like, and there's an ad for them, son of a bitch.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's because I mentioned it. Now it's popping up on Instagram,
Get out of my head. Yeah, for sure.
Except for my Alibaba ads, that's a whole other conversation.
I have been loving
what the hell.
It's like some of those things are some crazy suggestions, for sure.
And friends are contacting me going, you need to clear your Google search. I go, fool, listen to me. If I'm going to search for anything crazy, I'm going to use the private tab. Like I'm going to use incognito, right? I'm not going to use that. So like, but it's all over the map. They're sending me stuff from you saw, you see what and it's every week. I'm like, I want to call them. I want to contact them and say, Alibaba, your algorithm is messed up.
Yeah.
You got the wrong guy.
Because this like plastic mouth stretcher or whatever is like not for me. I
was like, what is that? Some of the things I don't even know. And I thought, maybe I don't even post half of this stuff because I'm scared that I don't know what it is, that it's going to end up there.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's hilarious. Oh my God. Yeah. All right. I digress. Yeah, with the plastic mouth stretcher, it's a whole other conversation. That's what I seem to get. It's like some exercise device. I'm just like, okay, but
there's one
anyway.
that fits through the recent one. It's like and they have many colors. I don't even know why. You have to just look at my
collect
Twitter.
Them all. Talk about collectibles. All right. So
yeah.
Talk to me about creating Cyko KO. How did I mean you gave us a little bit about how the concept came about, but I want to hear about this like lightning in a bottle moment of getting not just one of the people from Napoleon Dynamite, but like the main cast all plugged in to this show. Like I think I was thinking about it this morning. I'm like, it's like a home run for something that came out of left field. Like, I'm not a big baseball person, but like for me as an outsider looking in on the show, I'm like, that is the golden ticket. Like, what an awesome cast, you know? So talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I had, I thought, well, okay, if we can do this with NFTs for comics, I had been trying to get an animated pilot off the ground. And you're so correct with your assessment of the vibe of the thing. It is absolutely a Hanna-Barbera Saturday morning cartoon throwback. I had pitched this to a few companies, big companies, and they all gave it a pass. It had been under option at one point, but I knew that they kind of weren't serious about it anyway, and da-da-da. But yeah, and so I'm such a huge fan of like, the Hanna-Barbera stuff, Super Friends, Johnny Quest, Thundar the Barbarian, all those. And I had studied for the comic book how to create those. I'm kind of lazy, so I didn't want to I hate drawing backgrounds. So I work with this animation company who's very good in the Philippines, and they're very good at painting backgrounds. I thought, okay, well, paint me one wide background. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep reusing that over and over for as long as those scenes exist. And so I started employing this tactic within the comic book. And so the comic book, I already had the backgrounds. Okay. So the comic book, we already have the storyboards, right? That's what a comic book is, basically. And then so I thought, okay, with the NFTs, we can raise money. So I contacted Replay, who operates Rewarded TV, and we had been in touch through LinkedIn. And I said, I got this idea. What if we premiered on Rewarded TV, because you're a Theta partner, and Dan Goikman over there, Chris Jarvapali and Josh Goikman, they were very receptive. And so I said, well, let's do a joint drop. So a joint NFT drop, see if we can raise money. I then contacted Verified Labs, because I knew that John Heater had Tygon's, his NFT property, which, by the way, is going to be like a comic book and an anime thing, like super, super excited for that stuff. And Tygon's is like kind of like the Liger from Napoleon Dynamite. It's got the same type of art. John's an artist, so it was natural that he drew all these. And so I contacted Verified Labs, and Matt Winters is and his cousin Justin Winters. Justin contacts me and Matt, and they're like, okay, well, let's put you in touch with. Would John want to star in this? And they wrote back and said, yeah, let's talk to him. So next thing I know, I'm on an email with John Heater. By the way, let me just set this up by saying I am hands down everybody says this, but one of the biggest Napoleon Dynamite fans ever. I had even gotten the keychain from a friend that has sweet, lucky, all those things. And I was studying the dance and oh man, it's totally nuts, right? So it's surreal now that I'm talking.
Let me just interrupt you. The fact that they used that Jamiroquai song in the end, the canned heat, I was like, this movie's everything to me right now.
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, it's perfect. It's a perfect movie. And so I spoke to John, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like seriously, I'd known him forever. And not only in my mind, just like as a person, because like he is one of the nicest people you will ever meet. I'm not kidding when I say that. And believe me, the show's done. I have nothing to gain, but he's just like, he's just a nice guy, and he's very enthusiastic, and he loves Cyko KO, because I sent him the comics and I sent him everything. He read them through, and then he said, well, why don't we get Efren Ramirez and John Grice? And I said, yeah, sure. Like, like I'm not gonna say no. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Let me think about it. Let me think
I don't
about
know.
it.
I need give me a week to mull it over.
So he
Yeah.
does
Wow.
he does an intro, and then I'm talking with Efren. And then I'm talking to John Grice, and they're both, I send them the comics. I think I sent them the comics. But anyway, and then next thing I know, they're both in. And I'm like, oh my God. So I said, I wasn't pushing at this point. He goes, well, how about Tina Majorino for Peachy Keen? Now he knew all the characters.
Yeah.
He knows all the characters that he goes, let me make an intro there. So then at some point I was like, we need Delphina, he goes, oh yeah, let me contact Haley Duff. So he still talks to all of them. Like he's still like, he's one of those guys that I think like, if you know him, you're going to be friends with him forever. And that's how Justin got to know him, because Justin had they'd done a film together, and Justin is CEO of Verified Labs, and then John is a part of that company, as is Matt. And so next thing I know, I'm like talking to all of them, and they're all in. I said, well, can I get a letter of intent? Boom. They love Cyko. I sent them comics. I said, showed them the property. Of course, you have to go through their managers and stuff. And then, and then from there, we did the drop, and the drop did very well. It did really well. Not Stoner Cats level. I don't even know why I said that, because the Stoner Cats thing is like not even comparable to what they had done. But anyway, so we ended up, I think when all said and done, I think it was 118,000, of which I think we netted, 80, something like that. And was it enough to do the series? So my company became a signatory. I did the whole SAG thing. I show ran this thing. So I went to the individual studios and recorded them. And then, I worked with animation companies all over, Philippines, Mexico, Argentina. And so I was no stranger. I had produced, I was a producer on Night of the Animated Dead for Warner Brothers, which was an animated version of Night of the Living Dead. Nice. That Tom DeFeo and I had done an animated trailer, and we brought it over to Kevin Kasha, who brought it over to someone else, and Warner Brothers looked at it within 5 seconds, and they were like, yeah, we're doing this. So then that's kind of where I knew animation production, but that's really kind of where I got a real taste of it, because I had done the budget. I had gotten the animation studios, all the artists. I had like really organized that whole thing. And then, of course, they had a director and they had a bunch of other producers and stuff. But I really feel, and I'm not taking credit for all that work, but I'm just sort of saying that like a lot of that film came together because of just my various contacts in that area. So yeah. I applied that to Cyko KO, and I guess about a year later, after contracts, recording, scheduling, animation, animatic, sound, all that stuff. Here we are, we have a pilot. So it's kind of
rad.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so rad. I wish I could have been there to see it. We had just come off of the Film 3 Summit, which was like, oh yeah, we weren't even, we went to that at such a last minute. Like it was literally, I think I was like taking a break from my desk. It was a Thursday, and I and for that day and kind of for the whole week, Pippin and I were like, should we go? Should we not go? We really should go. But like, it's like we're like buried in work here, probably like you as well. And so there was plenty of excuses not to go. I took a break from my desk, and I like went up to our bedroom, and I was like, maybe I'll just take like a little 10-minute nap or something, a little siesta just to regroup. Yeah. And I couldn't sleep. And I was on the Film 3 Instagram, and I think I was looking at like their stuff from last year. And I got up and I came downstairs, and I like walked right into our garage, and I said to Pippin, look at me right now. Like time's a ticking. let's load the fucking car because we got to be down there, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we
yeah,
did. And
yeah,
he was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
made a beeline to budget to rent a car,
Right,
you know,
right, yeah,
like
yeah,
they were
yeah.
like, you know, we were like, we'll take whatever you have. And they're like, how about this janky minivan? You know, we're like,
Yeah, yeah.
sold.
Let's
You
go,
know?
gang. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know, loaded up the dog. I mean, we had everybody. And but it was I had the time of my life, and I didn't realize that Theta Con was happening so close. Otherwise, I think we would have just caravanned down to Austin,
Yeah,
wasn't it? That's where it was. So
yeah, it was in Austin. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, really, it was a really good event. Yeah, I'm a founding member and board member of Theta Con,
Oh, no
which
kidding.
was,
Awesome.
yeah, that's kind of crazy how that came about. Because I did a tweet, I guess, late 21, something like that. And I was like, hey, when are we all getting together for Theta Con? And then the next thing I know, and I know there had been some talk about, a meetup and stuff like that and then Brian Macer contacted me and he's like, hey, I'm serious about this. Let's do this. And I was like, that's not going to happen. It's like, I think was it May of 2020? We had like 4 months to plan or whatever, something crazy. And then we brought on, Doc Theta and some other people, and it just kind of worked out. That was our first one. And that was down in Fort Lauderdale last year. And then, yeah, this year was at Austin. This year was a little lightly attended, but I feel like the programming was better, was more solid,
Yeah.
So,
well, I feel like with these events, it's just a matter of time before you're suddenly looking at walking into a room with thousands of people, because
yeah.
I felt the same way at Film 3 Summit. Actually, I didn't know what to expect. I already had, just been talking with a lot of the Film 3 squad for the last, year through Spaces. So I knew that I could expect to see them. I wasn't sure who else. And so the programming was exceptional. It was way above and beyond of what I expected.
Wow.
And then it was an intimate gathering. Sure, it was smaller, but you could hang out and talk to people. There were couches and stuff. I mean, it was very relaxed and not stuffy at all. And you could carry on conversations with people from Decentralized Pictures, and
Wow.
in my case, corner them, and
Yeah. Not
and
let them
chat with them
go.
about and be
Yeah.
like, all right, well, now I own part of your soul.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You're mine now. You're under my spell.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, it's just these types of things, like you were saying, like this is not going away. This is
Yeah.
the way. This is like, once more people get turned on to the notion of what all of this truly means for them and their art, it's just a matter of time, and
Yeah.
that's why we work within this realm, because it makes sense for us. We've always been indie filmmakers. I don't think you'll ever catch me selling one of my scripts to a major studio unless the money was right, but I have heard that the money's never right. So
Yeah.
there's just a lot. There's a lot that goes into it, and this way, it's like you can run a successful show and also like maintain complete creative control over it, and not have somebody like tapping on your shoulder or tapping on their watch. And there's no,
Yeah.
it's like sure, we're building the plane and flying the plane, and it's a little bit wild and crazy and bumpy when we're in a bear market, but I'm sort of used to all that anyway. And perhaps you are too, because you've had these experiences of people saying no to you and whatnot, but it's the spirit of perseverance that I think is what is keeping us all moving forward in a collective way.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I fully believe in a lot, like all these people, like what everyone's doing and working on, and we're all building together, and it's a beautiful thing. Honestly, it really is, and we're lucky to all have each other, for sure.
Yeah. I agree. And I think like, this idea of things being creator centric, is going to, it's of course, I hate to sound like this, money always talks, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's always the big thing. But I feel like this particular movement, this particular Web3 movement, actually levels the playing field. I don't want to say like, I know that I'm fully aware of the term disruption and disruptor, but I feel like in a lot of ways, I don't necessarily know if it, from my perspective, if it disrupts as much as it levels the playing field. It says to those corporations, those studios, hey, this particular person has a voice. And to give a parallel, and a very good parallel, look at Napoleon Dynamite. I mean, not as a movie necessarily, but as a phenomenon, right? And I say that because here you had a bunch of people who are relatively unknown. I mean, hold for a few actors who already had some credentials, but relatively unknown, and it was an indie success. And then the studios get wind of this and go, "Whoa, we should follow that model," right? Which is always the case. But what brought them together, all of those actors, and they've said this to me, is that they had a common goal to make something, and they enjoyed doing it. And when you enjoy making something, and that's where the indie world really shines, right? Because there's no motivation. You're not going to get paid well. You're not going to get like maybe a lot of views, but you do it simply because you like it. And when you do something because you like it and it fills you up with some sort of happiness or completion or whatever, you really can't stop. And to have that rewarded in the Web3 world, it does become creator centric, where a corporation cannot really hide behind that. It's out in the open for them to say, hey, that creator, if you want to be under our umbrella, let's say, you still have to be that creator. You still have to be at the forefront. And I think like that's a game changer in a lot of ways, because right now, to your point, you could sell the script and you'd be invisible, right? Because it's the script. But in the Web3 world, because you made it, because now you're at the forefront. And that to me means everything, because that's what we've been doing for, a long time, 20 something years, more than that. Right. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting thing though, to, I feel like, and I think you mentioned this just a little bit earlier. It's like I have my sort of film 3 friends, and then I have like other filmmaker friends, and it's like Ghostbusters. Like the lines don't necessarily cross.
Yeah, right.
And it's I was trying. So we submitted 2 projects to Decentralized Pictures last week, and I have a friend she's a very talented filmmaker, and I wanted to reach out to her and just sort of say, hey, if you're working on a film and you need completion funds, this is a great avenue. And it's kind of interesting because it doesn't seem to be like a whole lot of people know about it. And it goes by voting and stuff, and she's got an audience. And so I was just but I was trying to like describe it to her, and I'm on the phone and it's late at night, and I think Pippin was in the grocery store, so I'm pacing around in the parking lot. And have you ever had those moments, maybe when you're talking about NFTs to somebody who's not in that world, and you sort of feel like you're digging yourself into a hole? Like I felt like I'm digging myself a grave right now.
Yeah.
and I can't figure out how to get out, because I feel like I sound crazy when I talk about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, and then there's this whole community, and
Right.
like, and then I'm trying to explain to her that, like, also like with the NFTs, this is, what they could do for film, and they also, you could have royalties with them. So if they act as movie tickets and people are watching your stuff and they sell the, tickets, then you get royalties. And I'm just trying to explain all this. And then at some point she's like, this kind of sounds like, you could tell when that moment, maybe the relationship changes, when they're like, it kind of, you find yourself sort of trailing off because they're not really saying anything or like, engaging. And and she was like, this sounds kind of like a little bit like illegal or something,
Oh yeah,
And I was like, no, it's not. And I was like, no, it isn't. And she's like, yeah, but it sounds a little bit like mob, like organized crime. And I'm like, no, because Decentralized Pictures is run by like the Coppola family. At that point,
That's at that point you're like, I have to
like,
go.
I'm like, but no, it's good, So yeah, I was like, all right, cut. I'll send you a link, and maybe we can have lunch.
What's funny though is because of that's really funny. I'll make her an offer she can't refuse. But
I know, I was like,
but it's one of those things because I think like it's not seamless yet. And there's no brand that is out there saying, I mean, okay, so like the iPhone was pretty easy, right? Because it's like, oh, Apple, there's an iPhone, and now you can watch video and you can do all this stuff, right? That was the brand that sort of introduced this idea of, and then all the other phones sort of spilled off of that, right? So similarly, something like that needs to happen with NFT ticketing, NFT collectibles, whatever. Maybe Disney with this Pinnacle, who knows, and then from there, it becomes seamless and appliance-like, where people are able to just access it without having to go through. And then all of a sudden it becomes less illegal sounding. It becomes, because I feel like, it's the same thing when you have creative conversations with a non-creative person, and I don't mean to make that distinction, right? But it astounds me where I'll explain something and I'll be like, yeah, so it's like this and like that and the other thing, and then they spit out something that they go, oh, so it's like this, and it's completely not, first of all, anything I even thought of, and then it's completely wrong, but it could be right. It's so strange. It's like, so when you talk to other creative people, I'm like, it's like this, that, and I get it. That's no problem. So it's the same sort of thing with NFTs and Web3 stuff in general, because I mean, having those conversations, people literally shut off in their minds when anything, as soon as you mention computer, a lot of people are like, I'm done. I can't do it. I mean, there are people in my life who I'll say, oh yeah, so your computer, and they literally panic and shut off. So it needs to be somehow seamlessly integrated into their lives, subversively. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it seems like some of the technologies that are bridging the gap, I think for people who are like, just scared of crypto and scared of any new sort of thing, is when you're able to process a credit card transaction, and then it's sort of then it's like, oh, it automatically sends you by email your wallet information and your NFTs, and at some point in your life you can choose to go, and here's the instructions to go and like view those things, and here's how you can use them. So I think it seems like those things are moving along quickly, because it's being understood that the obstacle is just in understanding it, like minting something, the process of doing that, and all the other stuff that goes along with it is and then it's like, okay, now that you understand that, now there's like a whole strategy to releasing an NFT, and how do you do that, and it becomes a lot. And if you're a creator that's just like a one-man band, it's like, man, I just finished drawing this whole entire thing, and now I'm exhausted.
Now I'm exhausted.
And now I gotta, change hats and do the marketing side of me, and and stuff like that. I'm curious about, how do you balance out, your creative life, or do you have any balance? I know I don't, but
yeah, I mean, well, I mean, when you say balance out, what do you mean? Like with other activities and things?
Yeah, or just I don't know, like even mental health. Like I know that for me, it's really easy for me to work a 16 or 18-hour day. When I'm working on this docuseries that like is a continuous thing. And then, so there's a lot of outreach with that, and figuring out, okay, who's going to be the next, person. And then like, usually there's travel involved, and we've got to budget all that, and camera equipment and all that. And then, but at the same time, I'm a writer, so I'm writing scripts, and I just published a story last week, and marketing that. And so for me, it's easy. And I'm also a mom too. So it's like there's times
Yeah.
when I'm at my desk and my son's like, hey, do you
Yeah.
remember me? You know, so
Yeah.
it's it's
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
lot. Living a
Yeah.
creative life. I mean, Pippin and I used to joke like, oh, yeah, why work a 9 to 5 when you can work a 24/7, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Why have one boss when you can have 100,
Yeah,
whatever, that sort of thing.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So how do you
Yeah.
like what do you do? Is there anything that you do that just isn't like has nothing to do with drawing that just helps you keep your head level or what?
Yeah. Yeah. So I too have a family. I have a wife and two boys. My boys are on the older side, like, 17, 20. So they're here. It's great. Yeah, I'm actively involved in martial arts, and so I do that a few times, 2 to 3 times a week. I'm also a pizza aficionado, and we make
Oh,
pizza nonstop at our house. In fact, we're planning tomorrow. It's like the pizza Friday is always like the thing. So, my wife makes the dough and da da da. And there's an experiment. We've been doing this for like 20 years. So
whoa.
the quest for good pizza. And in fact, like that's one of those things, like if I don't know, if everything else like sort of like took off, I had nothing to do all day or whatever. I don't know, whatever it happens to be. I probably would, just make pizza, work in a pizza shop or something. But it's like, so
That's cool.
that's one of those things. And how do I bounce it out? Yeah, I've learned also just to like kind of shut off, but you never really shut off, right? That's
Hmm.
kind of the problem. Like I'll walk away from my desk at like, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, maybe to go to class or just to tune out for a little bit. And
Hmm.
right now during this bear market, I've had to pick up service work, doing animation and design and stuff like that, just to keep the lights on, which I've been doing for, since 2008. I'm no stranger to hunting down new business. If
Right.
anybody needs anything, let me know. And
Yeah.
so it's always that's it's that balance also that forces me to like do actual work and stuff. But at any given moment, I always have a project going. Right now, I'm working on the next comic book. We did take um, Cyko KO out, to see if there's other interest there. I would love, love, love to just be able to fund another episode like we did the first time around. But in a bear market, it's kind of
Hmm.
difficult to do, right? So,
Right.
um, so I don't know. So we'll see where all that goes. But yeah, the next comic I'm also working on. I got some products that I'm working on and da da da. So there's always something that
You
I'm
got a lot
doing.
of irons in the fire.
Yeah.
Sounds
Plus,
like.
I'm CTO of Rocket Ship Entertainment, which is a graphic novel publishing company, and we
Okay.
work with Legendary, and we all work with Stan Lee's POW Entertainment, and in fact, right now we have a Kickstarter running for Stan Lee's Genesis, which is a board game. So
Oh,
that's on.
cool.
So it's stuff like that. There's never nothing to do,
Right.
which is a good thing and a bad thing. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I do know.
I'm complaining, and I'll say something like, "Oh man," it's just like, and then my wife is like, "Oh yeah, because you have it really hard."
Yeah.
She's not being mean, but it's like, yeah, it's like
No,
kind of
yeah.
like, no, you're right, yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
and for me it's weird. I'll like I'll get anxiety, but only because I have all these projects and I really enjoy what I do and I want them to next level. Like you. It's like I just want this to next level,
yeah,
because it's good, people will enjoy it. And so whatever that missing piece is, like that's the thing that just sort of like keeps my brain like running like a hamster wheel at three
mhm,
o'clock in the morning when it's like, okay, what's that one? Like, what's the little missing piece? What
right,
is it? That's what's
right,
gonna, next level um the projects that we have, and
yeah,
I just think it could kind of make you a little batty for
yeah,
sure,
oh yeah,
um
absolutely.
but
Because it's like
yeah,
too much all at once. It's like I find lists, making these lists of post-it notes, these endless post-it notes, which are
yeah,
just all over. and
Oh man.
walking my
When
dog.
you
And
can throw a Post-it note
oh
away
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah. Oh,
complete, isn't that the best feeling? It's
oh
like
yeah, oh yeah.
make it into a whole thing. I'm like, I'm getting up, I'm gonna walk this over to the recycling
That's
bin.
right. Yeah, exactly. 100%. I know it's a good feeling. I just threw out one, and I was like, oh, thank God. But then I started another like four more or something like that. I was like,
Right. Oh man.
yeah.
Let me see. I've been chatting with
Excuse me.
you a little bit off script, which is perfectly fine and super awesome, but I just want to make sure I am not missing anything. Um, let's see. We did talk a little bit about Theta, but would you mind just kind of I don't think there might be some people, probably a lot of people that don't exactly know what Theta is. Are you able to sort of just give me like a brief sort of description of the company? And then of course I know I have to get Andrea on here at some point
Oh yeah, yeah,
to talk to
absolutely.
her, but
Yeah,
yeah, this channel is kind
yeah,
of a lot of like because Booty Brown with the Pharcyde is so kind to let us, use this platform to kind of promote Film 3 and, kind of what everybody's doing. I want to make sure that we're also covering bases so people know,
yeah,
okay, they mentioned Theta a lot. Like, what is it?
yeah.
So yeah.
So Theta is a decentralized video um software, I'd say, a blockchain. And so it's decentralized in that, there are, instead of, okay, so you have YouTube servers and you have Amazon servers and you have all these servers that feed video, they accept video and spit out video, right? And it costs like a lot of money per year for them to run. What happens with the Theta blockchain is everybody runs these nodes. And by running the nodes and it utilizing your excess upload bandwidth, they're able to eliminate those servers. So we're looking at a server-free world, right? Now, why would somebody want to run a node? Well, the answer is because you get paid for it, and you get paid for it in their currency, T-Fuel, which I think currently is about, excuse me, about 4 cents. I mean, so their partners though are interesting. Google, Samsung, Sony, CAA, right? That's kind of massive.
Yeah.
And Levita is another one. Like they have a lot of partners. And so when you look at the blockchain and you look at some of these other blockchains and you're like, okay, they're good. Theta really is the best positioned, in my opinion. This is not financial advice at all, but in the best position to be the decentralized video blockchain that enables just this serverless and permissionless video. And they've already been running it. They already have it. If you you could use the Theta, anybody can use the Theta video API to actually upload video, have it decentralized, and then you can embed that on your website. And
Oh
it's
well. Okay.
fast and it's easy. And it's just it's like this sort of like really easy to do dumbed down version of video that utilizes the blockchain, and it's serverless, it's permissionless, it's pretty amazing. And so that's their core business, right? And in terms of like them enabling, they have over 20 patents. Some of it includes live events, NFTs for live events. And so I can kind of see this as being, and what I kind of always saw was like, oh, well, this is like the future of where it's all going, because nobody can really shut you down. Really, it weeds out bad actors, all this other stuff, right? So I kind of think that so that's what Theta is in a nutshell.
Cool. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. I'm also interested in knowing, I know you mentioned that what you'd really like is to get another episode of Cyko KO going. I mean, what does that take? The upside is that there's a community here. There's there are people here that are interested in your project. And I mean, I think it's just rallying people around something like that. We're all, we all don't have like, tons of cash flow, but what we can put in can amount to a lot if there's, enough energy pointed towards it. So I'm always a fan of of the energy that people can bring when, when it's just, $10 or $50 or, $100, and just kind of like that, all that stuff adds up and can amount to the next episode. So I'm just curious about, kind of what stage that might be at. Like if you've already like written it and it's like set to go, or how, like, how do you even feel about everything I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I love it.
On the spot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Of course. No. It's I have 6 more episodes ready to go.
Whoa, okay.
They're all based on the comic book. So they're single issue episodic, right? So each one would run roughly around 11 minutes, timed out. I mean, it's kind of I don't want to say magical. This first one was a little bit longer. It was like 14 minutes, but it was a 28-page comic that I had adapted, right? So some of the others aren't that long. So it would shake out to about 11 minutes long. Because it's based on the comic, they're already written, they're already storyboarded. All the backgrounds are done because I had them all painted. The animation studio I work with already has them rigged, has all the characters rigged. All the actors are ready to do another episode because they all have right of first refusal. And it's just a matter of the company's a signatory. I mean, if somebody were to pick this up, we could go into production tomorrow. If they don't pick it up and we were funded, we'd be able to go into production tomorrow, not only with the next one, but the 5 or 6 more at least. The next one would be, it's kind of funny because it's based on the comic book, and I think this issue is sold out, but there is a compendium of all the issues coming out through Rocket Ship early next year that was kickstarted, and I think it's a 60. I'm sorry, let me think. It's like 86-page book that could be a hardcover and stuff. So all those issues will be in there, but yeah, we're ready to go. It's a matter of, and here's the kicker, because there's no like giant overhead or some like executive or something like that. It's really the rates that we're able to do this for is, keep in mind, we did a 14-minute all in was 89,000 when all was said and done. Yeah. We had another producer jump in, Simpatico Studios, who funded our shortfall. Steve Whiskeyman, great dude. And that was in addition to Rocket Ship, Verified Labs, Replay, Theta, all those. So, I mean, that's pretty economical. Now, granted, I wasn't really paid on it to show run it. That would be nice. That'd be really nice to get paid. And it'd be nice to also pay the actors and maybe a little bit more. So obviously that 89,000 is a little bit of an anomaly in a lot of ways. But I mean, when you're looking at network ready stuff, I mean, that's, I don't know, double it maybe. But I don't even think that would be necessary.
Right. Right. Wow.
I run it off from my house. I got this whole operation. Hanna-Barbera,
really?
Baby. Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, right, exactly. I did, because I had done the model sheets and then all this stuff, right? I mean, I literally did all the paperwork, directed, produced, went out, recorded all the actors, directed them, did all the red lines on the dailies, all of it.
Yeah. Wow.
And of course, Digital One.
Yeah. And talk to me about Digital One as well. Like, how do you know those guys? And just for the people listening, we have a mutual a relationship with Digital One. We've done some stuff with them for a little bit ago, but they're a Portland company, and they're awesome. I mean, they're super awesome. But yeah, talk to me about that a little.
Yeah, Digital One. When I was thinking, well, how am I going to record all the actors? Like, how are we going to get this? And so John Heater does a lot of work with Digital One, and he recommended them. And I said, okay, that's perfect. They're SAG, so that's fine. And then, I recorded out loud audio. We had done Efren, Tina, John Grice, and then John Heater also stopped by. But John Heater was recorded at Digital One remotely. And we recorded a couple other places like Shea Boom in Austin and whatever. It's kind of neat. But yeah, Digital One was really, what I really liked about them, not only because of John's recommendation, but their staff was like super friendly. Like, Eric, Michelle, Josh and Jason, Jason was super helpful. But I don't know if you know this. This is like kind of, so at one point there's a character, Ray Sunburn, who's the announcer on the beach in the Cyko KO episode. And one of the actors from Verified Billy was unable to do it because of scheduling conflicts, which, we'll fit him in another episode. He's a super cool guy. And so so I was telling Jason about this at Digital One, and I was like, we had recorded John, and then so Jason says, well, I don't know if you know this, but we have an actor here in our studio who could do it. And I was like, well, all right, who? He's like, well, Josh Millman. And I was like, oh yeah. And I said, he goes, have you ever played Wii Sports? And I said, yeah. He goes, you play the golf game? And I said, yeah. He goes, he's the voice of Wii Sports. And I was like, get the hell out of here. And he goes, yeah. He goes, birdie, hole in one. And I was like, that's perfect. That's perfect. So I was telling my kids, my kids, of course, know about the Napoleon Dynamite. They love that. Da, da, da. So I'm telling my son, I said, I got the voice of Wii Sports to do the character of Ray Sunburn. And what's great in the pilot, I don't know if a lot of people picked up on it during the premiere, but when they're surfing, Josh, who's the voice of Wii Sports, says, nice barrel. Awesome, dude. Like, just like Wii Sports. Really incredible. Oh
my God.
But Digital One as a whole were like, they were like super helpful from beginning to end. They had done the sound design and the post, and really phenomenal and easy to work with. Oh, super.
Yeah. If you ever find yourself in Portland, I don't know if you did you go to their spot?
I wanted to,
beautiful.
But
yeah, they've got a really great spot over there, and just I don't know, Pippin and I can't say enough good things about them for sure.
They're awesome. They're awesome.
So awesome. There was one other thing. Oh, kind of a really important thing. Where can people watch this first episode? Is it token gated? Like, just kind of explain that to me a little bit.
Yeah. So what you want to do is you want to go onto Theta Drop and buy your ticket, which is basically an NFT, right? But we're going to call it a digital ticket. And just search for, if you go to replay.thetadrop.com, that's where it is. Or you could do a search for Cyko KO and you'll see one of the TV star cards. That would be your ticket to get in. And then sometime early 2024, it's going to premiere on Rewarded TV. We're going to I'm going to see if we could get some extras in there. What's really cool at Theta Con, so there are a lot of these people that had this special pink bubble gum, and stop me if we're going over time or if I'm talking too much.
No,
okay.
Please tell me about the bubble gum, because that was a question that I had.
Yeah. So the bubble gum NFT, they got an additional perk. And so at Theta Con, what we did is we recorded, and it was a lot of fun. We recorded a laugh track. We gathered, anybody who had a pink bubblegum NFT could come into the room. We had a microphone, a small one. It was kind of like a janky job, but it was good. It got the job done. And we did a laugh track. So I queued them up, like directed them as if I were directing the studio, which, by the way, is my favorite thing to do on earth. Like, I love the studio, and I love John Grice. When I was out there in Burbank with Efren, Tina, and John Grice, oh man, I decrypted an article and captured it perfectly. I never laughed so hard and never had such a better time. I walked away. It was like, I wasn't even nervous. I just felt so much fun. The best. And so in this room, we gathered everybody and they did laugh tracks. I made them laugh, and then they did cheers. And then we did I queued them up and stuff. And so that was super fun. So anyway, that will be an alternate version on Rewarded TV where you watch it. So you can see that, and then you can see the sort of other version where you have the corny laugh track,
right,
stuff like that. yeah, right, exactly.
That's so great. Oh my gosh, that's great. So then, so you mentioned Rewind. You said in 2024 It's going to be
Rewarded.
available.
Yeah.
Rewarded. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
no, it's okay.
I didn't
It's
mean,
it's rewarded.tv. Like you can go there now and you can watch movies. It's like watching Pluto or any of those
right.
fast TV. You know,
Okay.
I watched the Michael
Okay.
Jackson documentary, I guess a
Oh,
couple months ago.
right on. Okay. So
He's innocent.
rewarded.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Replay.theta drop. Pippin is asking for links. He wasn't.
Yeah. It's replay. So if you go, you could go get the Cyko KO TV star card, right?
Mhm.
They're just like these little cards through replay.thetadrop.com. And then once you have that, then when it premieres on rewarded.tv, you'll be able to see it there.
Okay, cool. So star cards. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
TV star cards. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. So yeah, so he's updating that information
Cool.
below,
Thank you.
so people
Thank you,
know
Pippin.
how to get there and check it out and support you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I know I want to see this show. You know, I want to see all 6 episodes happen. So I don't know. I'm definitely sold. I mean, the moment I actually, the first time I saw everything was on your Instagram, and I was watching the trailer, and I was just like, oh my God, this is everything right now. I'm just like,
Oh, cool.
I want to be in my pajamas, you know, it's Saturday morning. It's really not Tuesday, you know,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
you
Well,
know,
and then, yeah.
yeah. Sorry. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say that's entirely the vibe. And what's good about that is, you know, and I want to say, oh, it's vintage. It's not, but you know, Scooby-Doo is timeless. My kids love Scooby-Doo. I love Scooby-Doo. Like, and so that's sort of, you know, all ages, you know, I mean, literally it's from like 6 to 12. And then it does this big jump into like the parents who watched it or the parents who are familiar with it. Right. But the all ages audience is like, is massive. And believe me, it's not contrived. It's not something I'm like aim to do. It just is a natural fit for me creatively that just happens to fit, you know, out there, I think. Hopefully.
That's cool. That's super cool. I love it. I'm in.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
For
you.
sure. Yeah. I think, I mean, I guess one of my last questions for you is like, what kind of advice do you have for creators, you know, that are doing the same thing? They're putting in the work and they're building up, you know, they're doing what they're doing. And maybe they're in this space, maybe they're not, but just sort of like any general creative advice that you can offer.
Yeah. I mean, I think indie creators get it, you know, part of, you know, the thing that why I put out as much work as I like to think I put out is the fact that I'm sort of like shameless in a lot of ways. You know, I really want to get work done. I want to put it out there, see the reaction and so, I mean, never stop making stuff and putting it out there, and don't be afraid to put it out there. Don't wait until it's perfect. You know why? Because it's never going to be perfect in your eyes. I look at that pilot and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I love it. I've seen it a gajillion times. I also know I can see like sort of the mistakes and stuff like that. So to that end, it might be perfect in someone's eyes. I mean, it's never going to be perfect. So put it out, get it out there. And God, don't be afraid of technology. You know, all this stuff that I hear, it's very frustrating to me. And I'm pretty passionate about this, you know, and I don't force my opinion on anybody because I want them to come around to it on their own. And my opinion is valued. It doesn't mean much to people, you know, because they want to hear their words come out of my mouth, right? That's kind of the society that we're in, right?
Yeah,
so, but just take a little dive into it and do your own research, learn about it. As a creator, I can tell you, I can sit in a room with the same comic book indie mentality and say, oh yeah, we make comics, we did that. Then when we start talking about technology, there's a shut off for a lot of them, NFTs, blah, blah, blah. And if only they just took the time to learn the technology and not the hype, but the actual technology and how it will benefit them, they will see that it is everything that you've been waiting for. And it's not a money grab. It's an actual digital rights management tool for people to consume your content and you get fairly paid for it.
Mhm.
That is what I can't even, it boggles my mind.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know, to your point about like talking to your friend and whatever, you know, there's that shut off because of what they've been conditioned to learn. But, you know, knowing that I was there at Web 1.0 and then Web 2.0 is mobile and this Web 3 movement, you know, I made sure I'm not going to miss out on this
Mhm.
because I there's a way. So
Yeah.
don't
No,
stop creating and be open to everything.
yeah, that's excellent advice, and it's so fascinating because, you know, you're talking about Web 1.0 and then 2 and Web 3, and it's like, well, of course, technology is always going to evolve. That's what it's always been. It's
Mhm.
always going to do that, and so, um, knowing that, why would anybody want it to never change? You know,
Yeah,
never advance. And you know, you mentioned AI a little bit earlier. Like, it's a tool like anything else. Like, it's like a credit card. You know,
yeah,
anybody can use a credit card, and like the bad people will try to scam others. Like, there's always going to be bad actors in this world, and that's
yeah,
why it's important to always know who you're working with, and just, you know, slow down and like take your time before like just connecting your wallet to whatever. And you know, it's just
yeah,
it's a sort of a thing where yeah, it's the wild wild west, and you might get burned, but don't be afraid to look into this, because it could also do other things for you that like you could not imagine, you know.
yeah.
And
I
I
use
mean,
AI all the time.
yeah, yeah, it's so powerful. It's really cool. um I haven't had a chance to look into it as much as I would like to, but I think that for 2024, I really want to take a closer look, because the stuff that I'm seeing for like, you know, visual effects and filmmaking stuff is just like mind blowing. And I know by
Mhm.
January, it's going to be just that much further ahead, you know, because it's
Yeah.
moving so quickly.
You'll actually be able to use it as the tool it's intended to be, I believe. You know, like you know, and even before Web 1, there was Web nothing. There was Web 0. There was no web, right? And
Right.
so there was paper and there was mail and there was stuff. And we were using tools back then as well called magazines that we would clip out, try to find the images we want, use it as reference. We'd look at other people's stuff, use that as reference. The way I see AI and the way I use AI actively is an accelerated, distilled version of that, where instead of hunting down Google images or trying to find the look that I'm looking for, I could put in a couple words, get maybe the right output that I can say, okay, this is kind of it, you know, but it's not, and then draw my own version of it, which ends up looking nothing like that anyway, right?
Hmm.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's the idea of creativity. That's why the creative process, you know, continues through this and has always been that way, where we've looked at things for inspiration, but why not make it faster? The only thing it does is speed up my work. It makes my
Hmm.
work go that much faster. So
Yeah.
why not? Because we're in a fast world anyway.
Yeah.
So you said it perfectly, as a tool for sure. You
Yeah.
know,
That's
I don't
awesome. And
fear it.
yeah, and then your response with how you use it is just like, you know, is behind the camera here, and he's just like making the explosion, like mushroom cloud, like, you know, behind me. But it's so true. It's like people need to just stop like judging it like on a surface level, and instead be like, well, how could this work for me? You know, how could
Mhm.
I use this kind of thing? I mean, for God's sakes, I was rushing to grab some lunch for myself before this started, and um, I was like, "Oh my God, what," like, I had an acorn squash that for some reason, you know, it's the longest thing to cook ever, so I'll eat it after this, obviously. But
Yeah.
my
So,
son my son went to chat 11 years old, chat GPT, like, how to cook an acorn squash, and then he was, like, doing it.
yeah.
Okay, you know,
Right,
like,
right, exactly. So
that's so cool.
and this is the. Am I taking up all your time here? I feel
No,
like.
no,
Okay,
no,
okay,
this is we're gonna Farside TV wants to go 24/7, and we're gonna do
okay.
it with you
Oh, great.
for
Okay, so here's the other thing that I've been like, sort of, because I sit there, you know, on my downtime, I think, and so, but okay, so it's 1994, 1993. I'm doing a Word document in whatever, 1.0, whatever the hell it was. And I have a neat image, a neato image that I pull up of a leaf. And I show you, and you're like, whoa, where'd you get that? And I'm like, it's a thing they call clip art. Well, guess what happened after like a year or so? People could quickly identify clip art on logos and da, 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 da. The thing that's being discounted with this AI sort of skepticism and stuff like that is the human condition and our ability to adapt. As humans, we're really good at it. You know why? Because look at our human bodies and look at our human brains. And what we've done in this relatively short amount of time that we've been exposed to AI, we've been able to identify AI visually and through text. Case in point, I had a document that I sent to somebody and he goes, this thing reeks of AI because of this, that, and the other thing. Well, how'd you learn that? Just because I'm used to seeing it. Show an image to somebody, that's AI. How do you know that? Well, it just looks like AI, right? Yeah. It's our brains. We discount our condition, our human condition, whatever that happens to be, so much that we're blinded by it. Right. And our ability to adapt is going to be even greater. AI in the end will not like be the winner. I mean, Skynet, all this like stuff that they talk about and stuff, because we will find ways to regulate it, much in the same way we've done that with, I don't know, questionably missiles and guns and fire or whatever. Right. It's the same thing that we have this like agreement where there's a yellow line that divides us in the road and no one's driving over it. No one's crashing into other cars, right? Because the truth is we're still in charge and we always will be, maybe until we destroy ourselves, right? That's the pessimistic, but I mean, that's kind of where AI is headed, and it's in our control as much as we want it to be. And our own ability to identify that with our eyeballs and ears,
Yeah. There's something that you said at the start of your conversation where you were like, sometimes I just sit around and think, and like, I've never heard another person say that. It's unbelievable. I do the exact same thing. Sometimes I just need to be in like a place and I'm just like staring at nothing, or the other place. I guess there's two other spots where I probably do the most like thinking and idea generation, problem solving, script rewrites, not sitting at my desk where I wish it was, but either in the shower.
Right? Absolutely. Like, number one spot.
On a wet, waterlogged phone, hoping that it's like going to be legible, or on a walk, just walking and like working stuff out in your mind. So when you said that, I was like, yay, another thinker. I know everybody does it, but it's like, it's important for the creative process. You have to give yourself some downtime so that you could just think, and it's unbelievable how many little magical things happen when you're able to just do that. So
you can clear your head by thinking. It's just, but it also is like kind of like cursed with the idea. I have like an idea a day also. It's not even forced. It's just like every day. It's like, it could be a restaurant idea. It could be whatever. It's like,
and then it's like, I'm sure we were talking about lists and sticky notes too. Do you just dump that information into like, I keep them in notes on my phone, and I have like thousands of notes, and I don't know if I'll ever get through them all.
No. Some of them I do. Some of them most of them I just tell my wife, who's probably had enough of it. She'll never say, but and my friends, I'll be like, dude, I got this great idea for a movie, whatever it happens to be. Just like, if they can use it, that's fine.
That's cool.
Maybe not. Most of them are garbage, but
hey, you gotta get through that, and you never know what's on the other side of that garbage.
That's right.
There's a reason why it pops into your head, and 5 years from now, that trash idea could come back and be like, oh my God, this is, this is what it is. This is what the idea is.
Right. Yeah. You never know. Maybe my horror film for a killer elevator will happen. Killavator.
I love it already.
Yeah. Patent pending. Trademark. No, I don't know.
TM that. Can you put that in the notes, Kevin? Yeah. A Pattern Integrity production, by the way.
Presents Killavator. The elevator that kills. That could be a real thing, actually.
Don't push those buttons.
Going down or whatever.
Again, how about the basement?
That's what I did tell my friend that. I was like, dude, I got this idea for a movie. He's like, he and his girlfriend talk about it all the time. They're like, that's a killer idea, kill a Vader. So I'm like, it's
Killer,
the
Killer
dumbest idea.
Vader. Oh my God. Well, they had Cocaine Bear, for God's sakes.
Exactly.
Which, when that came out, I thought the trailer was a joke, but I was like, no, this is an actual thing, and I need to
Yeah.
go see it. Like,
Yeah.
you know. So, and
I know.
Sharknado. I know
Sharknado.
that's
I
gonna,
know.
perk the ears of some of the Film 3 squad
Oh,
for sure.
I have one that's an actual like comic cover that I'd done, probably giving away all my ideas, but you can see them, whatever. It's a Dracula versus the Kraken. Drac
Oh,
versus Crack in New York City. They battle over New York City.
I
It's
love it.
totally like, and then they're both public domain figures, right? So like we could sort of, I'm always thinking like, how do we do this cheaply without having to
Yeah.
license anything? Or like Kilovators, like that's a day shoot, maybe a couple
Yeah.
days, you
Yeah.
know?
It's awesome. I mean, all of that is awesome. It's really cool. I think,
One day, one
yeah,
day.
one day for sure. Well, this has been so awesome. This has been a really great conversation, and just you've got so many cool things happening. And I think that the people tuning in can, really benefit from just hearing your story and how you got to where you are, and, what you're working on and all that cool stuff. Um, I
Thank
know
you.
I'm gonna definitely I'm gonna check out your live stream, because um there's I don't know, I'm fascinated by those kinds of live streams with, just the illustration happening, and talking about, the process of creating characters and why they're the way they are and all that stuff. So it's just fascinating to me. So
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. I like streaming, and it's really sort of, it's very, I mean, in some ways it's cathartic or whatever, but I just enjoy doing it,
that's cool.
so
That's really
yeah.
cool. Sweet.
Thank you.
So yeah, I think that pretty much is a wrap. What do you think, Pippin? Are there any questions that I haven't been keeping an eye on anything? So let me just take a quick little peek. Okay. I think I did a good enough job of asking you.
Oh, cool. Good.
So, so yeah, all right. Well, that's a wrap. I've got a little bit of an outro that I'll do. And I don't even need to say that anymore. So I'm going to work on, I'm going to work on my streaming and get a little bit better at it. But here we go. So,
Okay.
yeah, so definitely, Rob, thank you so much for your time today. It means a lot to have you join us, and give us your time, and talk to us about just everything that you're working on. It's super cool. Cyko KO, it's just such a great show, great concept, nostalgic, checks all the boxes, for me at least, and obviously for a lot of other people, because they're collecting your work, and that's just awesome. Oh, would you mind dropping your socials, just so people know like how
Sure.
to follow you and find you and whatnot, and follow along with the show too?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah. So I'm on Twitter and Instagram at It's Feldman, ITS Feldman, Feldman. Remember
okay,
that
cool.
Seinfeld episode? It's Feldman from across the hall. So that's right. Yeah.
That's nice. All right, I love it. Great, cool. And of course, we're going to link to all that stuff down in the description. Thank you,
Cool.
Pippin.
Thank you very much. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me
for
on.
sure.
I appreciate it very much.
Of course, yeah. And I just want to give a huge shout out to the Theta Network and to Andrea, incredible person.
Oh yeah.
The Film 3 squad, of course, Jordan, Stephen, Julian, Jason, Yvette, Marty, Eric, Karen, the Film 3 queen. You know who you are. um, Big love, Lauren Neal, Hollywoodland, and all of the people also over at the Coders Room doing incredible work. That's Film Freako. That's Madeline and Ruby, Jeremy. I know I'm forgetting people, but you're definitely included in all this. Of course, the Never Alone experience with Sherry and her fantastic team. And a shout out to the Disruptors and to Bingeable. These are the people that are building and putting in the work to make this industry a really great place for everybody. And last but certainly not least, thank you, Pippin. A shout out to Decentralized Pictures. You guys are awesome for sure. And then, of course, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, both on YouTube and to the people listening in on Twitter Spaces. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for subscribing also to the Pharcyde TV network, where we're building up and building out this platform. You can find a variety of programming here, from live DJ sets to podcasts and films like the Process docuseries. So, Rob, thanks again. This was epic. I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Krista, for having me on. I appreciate it very much. It's great talking with you.
Yep. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.